Greetings. Welcome to another episode of the Insightful Living Channel with myself, Stephen Harvey, excuse me, licensed therapist, just comes on here to share about a myriad of obstacles and challenges that people face, right? And that I see come up often in my practice. Okay, you can look me up on psychologytoday.com or helptoadjust.com, which is the agency that I run my practice through. All right. And this is just my pro bono work, if you will. All right. Certain challenges that I see come up often amongst my clients, I just think to myself, hey, maybe this is something that needs to be expounded on to the larger society. Okay. So now, politics, right? Very big on the minds of a lot of people. All right. A lot of people are very emotionally invested into the political space and the political landscape, right? People have their candidates that they believe are going to carry out certain agendas that they're very passionate about. And, so we've had the election, and I'm coming across a lot of people who feel very distraught, very saddened, very disempowered, okay, and just almost have kind of lost hope. All right. So I just want to speak on this political landscape right now as it relates to mental health. Okay. Now, I want to quote a biblical verse here. Sorry. Okay. Now, I'm not part of any religion. I'm never pushing a religion. Okay. I study African spirituality, but I can respect the principles in all religions. All right. So this particular biblical verse I like, and it came to mind, and this biblical verse says, greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. Or, greater is the force that is in you to control and create your experience than any forces outside of you to control, create, and influence your experience. So I quote that verse because it's a very powerful verse to remind us to focus on the force inside of us, inside of our mind, to create our experience rather than focusing on forces, energies, people, constructs, man-made constructs, should I say, outside of us to have more influence on our experience. Okay? So, we are doing ourselves a disservice by putting so much stock or putting so much, just influence on people, things outside of us to determine our fate, to determine our experience, than focusing on our own mental creative power, our own will to win, or our will to create the life that we want. That's where our focus should be. So regardless of who gets elected or what's in place, what's not in place, focus on harnessing the energy and the power within yourself to create the favorable experience for you. Do not leave that up to or place that power in the hands of another person or a construct or a system or anything. Okay? If you study powerful people throughout history, these are people who have stood strong on a mental vision that they had in their mind, and they conducted their lives in accordance, in alignment with that vision. Okay, and this is just neuroscience here. That vision is bound to be manifested in your physical experience. Study the brain. This is how the brain functions. Whatever image is impressed, imprinted upon your brain, it is compelled to validate or create that image in your physical experience. So greater is the force inside of you to create the course of your life than any force outside outside of you. So in other words, if you're focused on anything or anyone outside of you, you're now giving up your power. You're making that person, that system, that construct, you're giving your power to that entity to create and control your experience as opposed to you. Okay? The power within you to create your vision exceeds, supersedes anyone or anything outside of you. You may ask me to prove that. I can prove it just by studying the testimony of many powerful people throughout history. Okay, I look at one individual that comes to mind, Marcus Garvey. This gentleman, from he was 8 years old, saw himself, projected himself as a global political figure, a global influential figure. 8 years old, 8, stood on that and ended up being a global political figure. Okay, I mean, you can go down the line. Who else? You look at, say, the Wright brothers who created the plane, right? You look at, just many people who had a vision and stood on it and saw it through. Okay, Queen Mother Nanny over in Jamaica, who saw a vision of overcoming evildoers who were attempting to put her people in bondage. Okay, she saw a vision of overcoming them. Okay, and she did. Okay, so you can go down history, study great people, and they'll tell you, hey, I always saw myself here, even though the circumstances said different. So let's not limit ourselves to, or let's not relegate our power to create for ourselves to another person. Let's stop giving up our power and putting our life experience in the hands of another person or another force outside of us. All of the energy that we're spending looking at other people and what they're doing, we can be using that energy looking within and creating what we want. And focusing on that and allowing our mind to ruminate on that and give to us the adjustments needed to make that happen. That's where the focus should be. Okay? Study people who have prospered even in times where everything in their environment said that it wasn't possible. Okay? I look at, the musician, the artist Jay-Z. All right, this young man coming from an impoverished neighborhood, just poverty all around. Okay, New York City public housing, and is now a billionaire, right? And I remember in one of his verses, he said, "The world can't hold me. I have too much ambition." He said, "I always knew it'll be like this since I was in the kitchen." Okay, so that verse is basically saying he always knew in his mind that he was going to evolve into the billionaire that he currently is. He always knew this and stood on this, even back when he was surrounded around poverty and destitution. Right? So that's another example. And I can go on and on. Okay? So I'm just here today encouraging and suggesting you who are listening to this video to focus on your mental power to create, your willpower to find a way create a way, maneuver in a way to create your outcome. Rather than focusing on others outside of you to determine your trajectory. That's now putting yourself at a deficit. That's now living in a disempowered way. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Because whenever we give up our power and put it in the hands of another person, that can be a very tough, saddened life. I can see how someone can feel powerless, despondent, and just totally defeated. I don't want you feeling like that. So this is why I'm just making a suggestion to switch the focus onto harnessing your power. How do you do that? Study. Okay, study. You know who's a great individual to study on this? Dr. Joe Dispenza. Study him. Great neuroscientist who does a superb job breaking down the science of the brain and how it can create, no matter what the physical situation is. Study him. Study all his material. Look him up on YouTube. Get his books. He's just one out of many, but start there. Dr. Joe Dispenza, okay? And I'm going to share this verse, and then I'm done. Hopefully, that will give you a better way to maneuver during these times, whether it be politics, economics, whatever's going on that doesn't look so promising. Focus on your mental image of what you want, and just stay right there and believe and trust, right, in that image, in that life, and allow your brain to do the work and to give you the adjustments needed to navigate successfully. That's how it goes. I know they don't teach you this in school, so it might be hard to really comprehend. But when you study success over and over throughout history, that's the blueprint, that's the formula. So I'll leave you with the verse again, the biblical verse. Greater is the force inside of you to determine the outcome of your life than any force outside of you to determine the outcome of your life. I love you. Until next time, Insightful Living Channel. Thank you for tapping in yet once again. Take care. Peace.